Hey there, and welcome back to another week of Homebound Devotionals. This week we're really excited about the course of study that we're going to be doing because, as many of you know, Sunday is Resurrection Sunday. And so what we're going to do this week is we're going to be in the book of Matthew, and we're going to start in Matthew 22 today, and we're going to work our way through the final week of Jesus' time on this earth before he's crucified, buried, and then eventually raises again from the dead. And so we're going to be in Matthew chapter 22 today, and so we're just going to hop right into it. And it's a very common passage that we're going to look at today. It's Matthew 22, starting in verse 37 through 34. And so what's happening is the Pharisees are trying to trap Jesus at this time, and so they've been asking him all these different questions and stuff. And so finally they send a lawyer to Jesus, because one of the things that was debated highly among this time is which commandment is the greatest. They would sit down and they would be arguing about, well, you have to, honor your parents. You have to not commit murder. That's taking a life, so that one's the greatest. You have to not steal. Which commandment is the greatest? And so we all know the top 10 commandments that we have. We call them the 10 commandments. But there's, even when you go through the book of Leviticus, there's 600 other commandments that are there as well. And then the Pharisees started imposing their own. And so they're trying to catch Jesus right now by asking, which commandment is the greatest? And Jesus, without hesitation, he responds to them in a way that kind of astounds them, because I love what is said at the end of Matthew chapter 22, where it says they never asked Jesus a question again, because he just answered their question to where they were just like, well, we can't ask anything else. And so our passage is going to be Matthew 22, verse 37 through 40, and it says, Jesus responded to the man, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and prophets." And so we see right there are over 600 commandments given in the Old Testament, and we try and abide by 10, the moral commandments. And Jesus is saying, hey, on all of those commandments, it can be broken down into 2 commandments. The first one, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. He's saying, what I want is I want all of you. Notice it says each time all. He's saying, I don't just want you to come to me Sunday morning and give me a couple hours a day. I don't want you to just give me Easter Sunday. I don't want you to just give me Christmas Day. I don't want you to even just give me 5 minutes in the morning. What I want is for you to love me with all that you have. I want you to love me with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Because God isn't looking for us to just obey a list of commands. God isn't looking for us to just try and do these check boxes that allow us to get into heaven, to where it's like, hey, Jesus, I obeyed 590 of them. That should give me a passing grade, right? God doesn't even want us to feel an obligation out of doing all of these commands. What God wants is for us to love him first and foremost. And then when we love him, following those commands is just going to come naturally. Because we're going to love God with all our heart, with everything that we have. We're going to want to live for God because we truly love him. We're told in 1 John chapter 4, verse 19, that the reason we love God so much is because God first loved us. And we see this. On this upcoming Sunday, we're going to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, but he rose from the dead because he gave his life as the sacrifice for us. Romans tells us that he was what we could not do. He became sin for us, and he did what the law was not able to do. And so Jesus paid the price for us. And so we love because he first showed us how to love. And so we love him with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our mind. I read it just this morning. It was a little meme or whatever, and it said that every day we give God thousands of reasons to not love us, but yet he chooses to love us. Every day we give God thousands of reasons. I have given God countless numbers of reasons why He should not love me. But yet every day God chooses to love me. And every day I can look back to the cross and I can see that Jesus gave His life for me, that Jesus gave Himself as a sacrifice for me. And as a result of that love that God gave me, as a result of me seeing Jesus sacrifice on the cross and then that Jesus rose from the dead, the result is that I love Him. I desire to glorify Him. I desire to live a life for Him. And so it's not me doing these things. It's not me not murdering, not committing adultery, not stealing, not lying, not coveting my neighbor's stuff, not putting idols above God, not doing any of that stuff. It's not me not doing that because I don't want God to hate me. But instead now it transforms my relationship with Jesus to where I don't do those things because I love God. It makes me think of relationships that I have in my life. For example, I got married almost a year ago. And there was a period where I was trying to do things because I wanted my wife Heather to love me. I started doing things because I was trying to earn her love, holding doors for her, taking care of stuff because I wanted her to like me. That was how I was going to get our relationship to start. But man, once I really knew that she loved me for who I am and that she just loved me, it changed the way I behaved. So now I do stuff out of that love. Now I start to care for her. I try and bring joy to her life. I try and please her because she loves me. Parents know all about this. Because parents can tell their kid, hey, go out. Your chore this week is for you to take out the trash. And every week it probably comes where parents are like, hey, you need to take out the trash. You need to take out the trash. And they're doing that out of obligation. But then there's those times where that kid is just like, I want to please my parents. And so I'm just going to go take out the trash, not because they're telling me to, but because I know it will please them. And so I'm obeying God's commandments, not out of obligation, but because I love my Father. It changes our relationship completely. And so we are told with everything that we have, we are to love God. And then it says the second commandment is just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. How do you love yourself? You provide for your own personal needs. A lot of times I love myself by putting my desires first. I kind of, make sure that, hey, I want what I want. I get the things that I want. I put my needs first. I take care of myself. And so that's how we love our neighbor. We go and make sure their needs are met. We care for them. We love them. We extend the love of Christ, not the love of Andy, because my love falls short. My love is selfish. But the love of Christ is sacrificial. We extend that love to our neighbors. And it says that on these two things depend all the law and the prophets. And so Sunday is Easter. But for Christians, every day should be Easter. Because every day we should be remembering the sacrifice that Christ made. And not just that He died, but that He was raised again. And so therefore, every day we should be remembering the amount of love that God has for us. And so we see, Jesus, you stopped at nothing for me to be connected with you. So therefore, God, I just want to love you. I want to love you with all my heart. I want to love you with all my soul. I want to love you with all my mind, with all my possessions, with all my abilities, with everything I have, Jesus. It is yours. Because you gave everything. The way that we know love, 1 John 4, is because He first loved us.